Guess who's in Ozark Season 3? Tom Pelphrey from Iron Fist. I was so happy when I saw him. And then when I found out how big his role is and how good it is, oh, it made me so happy. I mean, if you thought he was good on Iron Fist, and he was so good on Iron Fist, we were like, give this guy more to do. And Jason Bateman and Ozark have done that. You ain't seen nothing yet. I mean, and I was looking into Tom Pelphrey. I was like, who is this guy? Why have we not seen more of him until now? And do you know that he was also on the show Banshee? Do you know who else was on that show? Anthony Starr, who of course is now a breakout star on The Boys. If I were a casting director, seeing how that cast is now 2 for 2 on other shows, I'd go through who was left with a fine-tooth comb. Because who will be the next breakout star from Banshee? Although, it doesn't make me want to watch Banshee for some interesting reason. I don't know why. Let's see how desperate I get as this sheltering in place continues. I guess because it was so long ago. But you're going to want to watch Ozark. Ozark's coming on Friday. All right, so let's be honest. We all know that Ozark got a little lazy with Season 2. And Jason Bateman wasn't in enough episodes. It was a real bait and switch. I mean, with all due respect to Laura Linney, I don't tune into Ozark to watch Laura Linney. Although she has a very good season. However, Ozark then won a bunch of awards, and I believe that Jason Bateman realized that this show is very likely his future. He's like, I better get back on that. And get back on it, he has. He's back, baby. A full-time member of the cast in a season that's so intense. I loved this so much that I feel it's on course. As I tweeted immediately after finishing my screeners, that it's on course to be the new Breaking Bad. Another show where a regular person turns out to be really good at crime, right? Like, not only am I good at crime, but I'm better than most criminals at crime. It's a wonderful fantasy. I think that's part of the fun. You're like, I bet I could do crime too. That's the wrong takeaway from this show. All right, so this is a non-spoiler review. Don't worry, the spoiler review will come on Friday. But I will tell you that the end of Season 3, don't worry, non-spoiler, was so incredible that I couldn't believe what I just witnessed. It was not only so good from a story perspective, but so well shot and so shocking that I had to immediately rewind it. I didn't finish the show and then go back and because it was right at the very end. I didn't finish it and then go, oh, let's watch that again. I was like, did I just see what I thought I saw? And I immediately rewound it and watched it again. And then I felt real bad that I have to wait for Season 4. Oh, it's gonna be good. All right, so without spoilers, let me tell you what I like about Ozark Season 3. Everything? No, I have specifics. All right, so first, this season is no longer about just survival, but also ambition. What a combo! Survival and ambition. Marty, and particularly Wendy, both realize that this is their new life. So what kind of life is that going to be? This is a very well-written show. I think on the surface it might just seem like another crime show, but it's really interesting in what it's exploring. So you have the perspective of a brilliant accountant who can play the numbers, and there's a little bit of backstory on Marty too, which I thought was very interesting, to a skilled lobbyist coming from politics who's used to dealing with sharks. I was going to say, who thinks she knows how to deal with sharks, but I kind of think Wendy does. It's just bigger sharks than she's ever dealt with before. Now, one of the best lines in Season 3, after "What do you want?", which pops up early on in the season, but then has a brilliant callback at the end of the season. Wow, this is much better writing than you would expect on the show, considering that not enough people pay attention to it. Although, if you're a fan of Bill, I believe Bill Dubuque, right? I wasn't planning to include him in my notes, in my review, so it's off the top of my head. He's from The Accountant, but I don't believe he's actually written any of this episodes this season. Jason Bateman directs, I think, just the first 2 episodes. The writers and directors on this season did a really phenomenal job. They deserve as much credit as everyone who's on screen. So there's not only that great line, what do you want? But then there's a really quiet sequence where Wendy tells her daughter, and the Bird children continue to be very well cast. They're particularly mini Laura Linney's, extremely well cast. I'm often like, are you sure they're not actually, especially Charlotte, I'm like, are you sure that's not actually her daughter? All right, so anyway, Wendy tells her daughter that people mess up, and the best you can do is acknowledge it, just admit it, don't lie to yourself, and do your best to just keep going. And that's the Birds to a T. And that's actually, I think, pretty good advice. They're trying to move ahead and not die doing so, but since they continue to not fully grasp that they work for a drug cartel, they make a lot of mistakes. I think they don't understand it partially, and they also don't want to understand it partially. There's so many great surprises. We're going to have such a good time in the spoiler review. They take it so many interesting places. I don't know what's left for season 4, but I'm sure they have a list because this is a very, again, talented group of people. They make shocking, fascinating mistakes as their situation escalates, not only bad, in a bad way, but also a good way. Oh, it's really good. Now, as Marty and Wendy try to carve out a future for themselves, it's also really interesting to see how they work in terms of business and politics. Those are the worlds that they're coming from compared to the other organizations in play here. The drug cartel, the Kentucky Mafia, the truckers, who take a little bit of a bigger role this season. Darlene's hillbilly operation. I didn't really think there was anywhere to go with Darlene, but they found some places to go. Again, spoiler review. And then even the FBI. I love how they're brought in. And what becomes very clear, not just to the audience, but also the characters themselves, is how these organizations are not just different, but also how they're the same. One thing that Marty says to a new character, Maya Miller, I loved it so much because it's how I personally feel about stuff. It was great. Oh, it was really good. Again, we'll talk about it in the spoiler review. On that note, it is great to see the world of Ozark expand. The casino set, it looks great. I'm not sure if part of it's CGI, but I don't know. I mean, they shoot most of this in Atlanta. It's pretty affordable in Atlanta for productions. I think they probably just built it. But sometimes the roof of the casino looked a little bit like, I felt like maybe there was a glitch in the Matrix. I was like, did that just shimmer a little bit? But anyway, it looked good. I thought the casino set looked great. And that was a concern we had after season 2. They wouldn't be able to fulfill that promise of a new storyline. But it looked good. There's another casino that briefly factors in which didn't look quite as good. That looked very CGI. I was like, I don't think that building's really there. All right, so anyway, the Atlanta locations, though, also continue to be used very, very well. And the birds are starting to feel at home here. And there's one shot. You'll know it when you see it, with Marty Bird and Tom Pelphrey on a speedboat. It's very quick. But the way Marty pulls out of the pier is so cool, and he has such command of the boat, and the way his men's shirt ripples in the wind. I was like, I finally get boats. It was one of those moments where I was just like, that's really cool. It made a big impression on me. All right, I was like, can Jason Bateman really drive a boat that well? He just peeled out of there, man. It was great. Now, not only are the birds stuck in the middle of a tornado of their own making, but so is Ruth. And it's not a tornado of her own making, although to some degree it is. She's contributed a little bit, which is explored this season. But she's in the middle of the birds' tornado. And that's also something that her character is starting to realize. Julia Garner, fresh off of her own Emmy win, gets another juicy season here. And where her character ends up, emotionally and physically, will surprise and I believe delight you. Great, great arc. Bateman, who's now been recognized for his acting and his directing on this show, also deservedly so, continues to be without a doubt Ozark's Walter White, but very much his own character. He's not a Walter White ripoff, but I say that with as a compliment. I think Marty Bird is as good a character as Walter White, and you got to admit they're cut from the same cloth. But I can't tell you how much I appreciate that Laura Linney is not Skylar White. With all due respect to that character, that show did what it needed to do. But I really liked having here a wife who is in on the action, making her own moves. It's really refreshing to see. And while Linney has yet to win anything for this show, she's been nominated, but she hasn't won yet. That might change with this season. Oh boy, Pelphrey is playing her brother, and the way their relationship evolves is not only a gift from the acting gods, but I believe also a gift from the awards gods. I just couldn't believe what I was watching, the way this thing progressed. I mean, Pelphrey who his character becomes, is jaw-dropping to watch. And it's all acting! No VFX needed. He does it all with acting, and it's so incredible to watch. That's all I can say. The entire cast is, as usual, quite good, with Janet McTeer now a full-on lead this season, and she does a lot of heavy lifting herself. And Charlie Tahan's Wyatt, I gotta say, we've seen Charlie Tahan around for a while. and it's very weird to see where his storyline goes. But he sells it. He makes it believable. And then as for new characters, Felix Solis is both terrifying and enigmatic as drug lord Navarro, finally on the scene himself. And then Jessica Francis Dukes is a very welcome addition as that FBI agent Maya Miller, who makes for an excellent foil, but also ally for Bateman's Marty. To see him be able to talk numbers with another character is pretty cool. I'm excited to see. I don't want to give anything away. All right, so if you enjoyed, even a little bit, Ozark Season 1 and Ozark Season 2, you will love Ozark Season 3. Spoiler review on Friday. All right, so share your thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.